are here. It is high school camp. Guys, we have been hoping and praying and looking forward to this moment since we left here a year ago. Oh, man. My name is John, and I have the absolute honor of hanging out with you guys and sharing a little bit. Let's do this. Some of you guys I know, some of you guys I don't know. Let's do this. I want to get to know your name. So on 3, I need you to yell your name so I get to know it, okay? All right, 1, 2, 3. That's awesome. That's awesome. Man, how many of you guys, you come here and this is your first time here at a New Life summer camp? Can we give it up for that? How cool is that? Can we give it up for that? How fun is that? One of my favorite things about New Life is that we are one church in a ton of different places. Let's hear, where are my people? You come from Belfair. Where are my Belfair people at? There it is. There it is. Let's keep going. South Kitsap, you guys in the house? There it is. There it is. Bremerton's got a special place in my heart. It's where I grew up going to church. Where are my Bremerton people at? There you are. There you are. You're scattered. Okay. CK, you guys here? I don't know. SK sounded a little louder. I don't know about that, CK. Let's do it one more time. CK, are you here? There we go. There we go. Where are my Paulsville people at? North Kitsap, Kingston. Man, I love you guys. I grew up in Paulsville. I graduated from North in 08. I had friends that went to New Life. It's why I'm here. Special place in my heart. It's where I get the privilege of being youth leader. Where are my Bainbridge people? Man, it is so exciting to be here. Guys, I am here because I had friends that when I was in high school, which is longer ago than I'm okay saying, they showed up, they were in a field, and they heard about Jesus through New Life. It is so cool that you guys are here. Man, one of the things that I want to say is, so we got almost 400 students here, which is just a ton of fun. It's awesome. Give it up for that. That's fun. We can clap for that. I like that. We're clapping. It's a fun first night. Here's the thing. We have almost 200 adults that are here, too. Can you clap for that? Like, maybe look at your leader. Clap for that. That's super fun. On Sunday, every single person that came to a gathering at New Life got a card that had a name on it. It had one of your names on it. As there are people that you don't know that are praying for you because they believe in you. There's something really, really cool. There are people who gave money, and they're like, I don't know this person, but I actually believe in their future because I think that they are the future of our community, our church, and our world. Guys, one of the awesome things that I love about being at New Life is we believe in you. This is one of our favorite weeks of the summer. It's one of our best weeks of the summer that we do, and it's all because we believe in you and your potential. Guys, like, you are world changers. You're going to go out. You're going to change the world. It's going to be amazing. I know a bunch of stories of how some of you guys got here. I don't know every story of how everyone got here, but I know you have a story of why you're here. So here's what I want to say is, like, tonight, would you do something for me that we start tonight that we do throughout the rest of the week? We're going to have a ton of fun at camp, right? Like, you guys excited to have fun? We can clap. Give it up for that. There we go. We're also going to have some moments, though. He's just really tricking me. We wonder if the batteries are going to work in the mic. No, there are going to be moments that we sit here and we are at camp and we wonder, like, God, do you actually have something to say to me? And here's what I know. Like, I know that there are you that are here and you're like, this is my church. I've been going here since I was little. Like, I know that God has something for me this week. And, like, you're already coming in. You're prepared for that. But I know this, like, there's some of you that you're here and you're like, I just came here because my friend said this was fun. And now you talked about God and I'm not quite sure what's next. Here's what I know. It's like you're actually here for a reason. God has a purpose for you being here. So would you do me this favor? Would we have a ton of fun this week, but would you stay open to the idea that God might have something for you this week? And it could be something that actually changes the rest of your life. Can we do that? Can we agree to that? Awesome. You can nod your heads. That's a good nod your head moment. That's a weird clap moment. Nod your heads. There we go. A little bit more about me. My name is John. I have adorable children. I think we're going to put a family photo up. Look at those kids. That is fun. So that's my beautiful wife, Rose. That's where they got all their looks from. It's from my wife, Rose. It wasn't from me. We have 2 kids. The oldest is named Griffey, which is fun. He's 3.5. I set him up sadly for life. I named him after a Mariners player, so I was just like a life of in front of him as a Mariners fan. Griffey is probably the sweetest small child I've ever met. I learned something the other week that no parent wants to learn. Griffey had oatmeal for breakfast this day. This comes back. We're riding in the car. He's painting on this little watercolor book. We drove for about 45 minutes, and that's when I discovered that Griffey gets car sick. I look in the rearview mirror, and I see oatmeal looked exactly like it did when it came down, just like slowly start coming out of his mouth. And we're on that weird stretch of Highway 16 in Port Orchard where there's like no gas stations for an easy 6 miles. I was like, this is a wasteland with no gas stations. My 3.5-year-old's screaming because he's covered in puke. His little sister, Aria, is also screaming because she just wants to scream and she doesn't care what anyone thinks about her. And so she's just having a fit in this moment too. And I pull over, we get Griffey cleaned up. They only do this when I'm driving them. They never do it when Rose does. Like, we learn all these things about Griffey. We get home, and on the way home, Griffey's like, Dad, I'm really sad. It's like, I know. And he's like, why did I get sick? I was like, sometimes people just get car sick. And he asked, like, who? I was like, well, Mom gets car sick too when she breathes. He's like, oh, okay. So we go home. I have just scrubbed puke off of my 3.5-year-old. We walk into the house, and he goes to my wife, Rose, and he goes, Mom, he goes, I'm sorry. She's like, why? And she's like, I'm really sorry you get car sick. Like, that's really hard. And I'm like, what a sweet kid, right? Like, he is just the sweetest kid in the world that he cared so much about Rose. He's like, I don't care about me. I just get really, really sad that you get car sick. Like, that's just a bummer. So that's Griffey. He's sweet. Aria's spunky. She's one of my favorite kids. She doesn't care about anyone. She just yells. Couple things about me. Like I said, I grew up here. I graduated from North Kitsap. Grew up in Paulsbo. Love the Pacific Northwest. I moved away for 2 years in college. Realized it was a dumb mistake. Came back and just loved life. Something else about me. I am a planner. Where are my planner people? Right, you guys are the people where we're actually like, we gave you a notebook tonight, and you're like, I don't need this. I have 3 notebooks, and they're actually color coordinated already. Where are my people who aren't planners? You're not planners? You're awesome people because like you're here, and you're actually here, and you're like, I don't know how I got here. My friends had gone on a bus, and I'm here, and now I'm in a field, and I didn't plan, but I think I'm going to have fun this week because my people who don't plan always seem to have more fun than me. You guys had 3-ring binders in schools, but you never used them. You just shoved the papers into your backpack, and it somehow ate them. I am a planner, though. I would rather be over-prepared than caught off guard. I will send someone 4 text messages, like 3 sentences each, just to make sure they understand what I'm talking about. It's not that I think you're dumb. It's that I like explaining things. Before I go somewhere, I'll make sure I check like Google Maps, like what are 2 ways to get there? Is there traffic? Is there an accident? Something terrifying happens as you get older, which is you become like your parents. My dad had this habit of we would go on trips, and he would have everything printed out on paper, and he'd put it in a manila envelope, which worked great when you're like going on trips in the 90s. And so now, because I'm a planner, when we go travel somewhere, I sure enough have a manila folder that has everything printed out. I have a smartphone. I don't know why I do this. I'm like, what if I run out of battery? Like, what happens then? I don't know. I've become my father, and it terrifies me. So anyways, I am a planner. Something else that you guys should know about me, I am a younger sibling in the truest fashion. How many of you guys are younger siblings? Awesome. How many of you guys are youngest siblings? Youngest siblings? We're special, right? Our parents were like, we did it. We found the perfect kid. We're done. Right? That's it. It's definitely not that we were so bad that our parents were like, we're out on kids for the rest of it. Like, we're just done. Where are my older siblings? Older siblings. Older siblings, you know this better than anyone else. Younger siblings like nothing more than to annoy their older siblings. I didn't realize how early that started. Aria, sweet, spunky Aria, is 18 months old. When she was about 17 months old, she discovered that she could make a sound. That sound is honestly what I would describe a pterodactyl as sounding like. There's no other word for it. I don't know what a pterodactyl sounds like. I think it's that sound. And Griffey, right, sweetest kid in the world. Sweet, sweet Griffey. He made a terrible mistake. He let her know that the sound bothered him. So a couple weeks ago, we were driving in the car, and as I see most calamities happen now, I'm looking in our rearview mirror at both of our children, and they are in their car seats, right? And they're strapped in, they're contained, and Aria knows she has Griffey trapped. So I watch. She turns her head. She takes the pacifier out of her mouth, stares straight at older brother, and just a big smile goes over her face as Griffey just covers his ears and he just can't have it. We annoy our older siblings. It's what we do. Where are my younger siblings at again? Okay, one of the most surefire ways to annoy your older sibling is to be better than them at something. I have an older sister. Her name is Katie. We grew up with a dad who loves the outdoors. He loves the Pacific Northwest. He loves all those things. And so he had kind of a rite of passage for us as we were growing up. The rite of passage was this. On our senior year of high school, he would take us on what he called our first real overnight backpacking trip. And so my sister's a year ahead of me in school, and her senior year, she goes on this trip with my dad. They come back, and all I hear is how great Katie did, how awesome Katie did, how much fun it was, how much she surprised my dad, all these things, right? Am I happy for my older sibling? Because I'm a younger sibling, that's what we do. And so I have one thought that goes into my head. One thought only. I'm going to beat Katie at the backpacking trip. I don't know how you win at a backpacking trip. I don't know how that works. I just knew I was going to win. I was going to beat her at it. And so the next year comes, and it's time for me and my backpacking trip with my dad, and I know this, I'm going to win. And so I grab a backpack that looks a lot like this, and we start packing all of our gear into it. And my dad packed a lot of the tent camping, real things that you need. I'm a big outdoors person, in case you can't tell. And so what I did is I was responsible for putting food and clothes into this backpack. So the night before it goes, and I'm packing. We go. So we take it, we load it, we put it in the car. We get out of the car, and I put on the backpack, and it's a little heavy. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, it's probably supposed to be a little heavy, right? You're taking stuff, it wouldn't be hard if it wasn't heavy. And so I was walking, we were going, we start on this hike in the Olympic Mountains. It's gorgeous. We go in 20 minutes, and I am tired. I am feeling it. And so I'm like, Dad, we should take a water break. He's like, yeah, that's really smart. We need to stay hydrated. I was like, yes, got 1 point. I'm going to win this backpacking trip. We keep going a little bit of ways, and I'm like, man, I'm really thirsty again. We should take another water break. I just need to stop. I'm tired. My dad's like, well, we can't drink all of our water. So I think he's trying to catch on to me. So then I do what I call our nature breaks for the next little bit, which is we're walking. I was like, look at that scenery. Is that a fern? That's so fun. It's the same fern we've seen for the last 2 miles. Again, I'm just tired. And so we get into camp, and on our way into camp, my dad, he looks at me and he goes, I thought you were in better shape than that. It's not what you want to hear from anyone, your doctor, your dad, any of that, right? And so we get there, and I finally take off my backpack, and I set it down, and it kind of thuds. And we start unpacking all the stuff. We start unpacking all the gear. And my dad looks at me, and he laughs. He said, John, it's not that you weren't in good shape. He's like, I get it now. He goes, you packed way too much stuff. See, I wanted to be so prepared. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a single thing. I wanted to win the backpacking trip so bad that I actually stuffed my bag full, and it set me back. And it was in that moment that I learned a really important lesson, which is this: the lighter you pack, the further you can go. I remember getting in the car and just that feeling of I kind of messed up on that. It's great. It's a backpacking trip. You can mess on that. We can laugh on it. It's a good story. I actually believe this, though. I actually believe that all of us have a backpack that we carry around with us. I don't think it's one like the one I have on now. I don't think it's one that you can see, but I actually believe that I carry around a backpack with me every single day of my life. And every person I meet, every action I do, every interaction that I have either puts something in or takes something out of that backpack. I believe this. You have a backpack too. Summer's awesome, right? Summer's so much fun. And I don't know about you, but I just feel lighter during the summer. I remember as a student, I was like, it feels pretty light, and that's pretty cool. The school year feels heavy. And guys, I actually believe this. I think that the school year feels heavy, not just because there's actual books in our backpack, but because life just feels heavier. And we might have actually loaded ourselves down too much. So tonight, we're going to talk about some things that we put into our backpacks, and we're going to look at some rocks. And here's what I believe is that the rocks that we're going to talk about tonight, some of them are bad, some of them are good, some of them are just kind of what they are. But here's what I do know is that they are all heavy. So where are my Paulsville people again? You grew up in Paulsville? You went there? Okay. growing up in Paulsville, my sister went to approximately 25 birthday parties at a place called the Dancing Brush. Have you guys ever been there? Yes. Okay, so you would go to the Dancing Brush, you would go and you would paint pottery, you would come back and you'd come up with something that looks like this. Right? It's this blue rock. It looks painted. It's really fun. It's really cool. It's something that you can look at and you can say, hey, I actually made that. And it's cool. Another word that we have for that is called an achievement. These rocks are really interesting. They're rocks that we pick up, that we carry, that we put work in, that we feel good about doing, that we're like, yeah, like I'm just going to pick up a bunch of these. I'm going to load them into my backpack. And we sit there and you think, like, maybe it's actually good that I have a ton of these. Maybe it's great that I have a lot of these, that I can load these in. And sometimes we actually do this. We actually build our identity around carrying a ton of these rocks. I remember the first time that I picked up one of these rocks and realized that it felt really, really good to carry. It felt really, really good to hold on to. Where are my baseball people at? You guys play baseball? Yeah. If you asked 5-year-old John what he wanted to do with his life, he would have said be a baseball player for the Seattle Mariners. I don't realize now how sad that is that I wanted to play baseball for like losing his team, but that's what I want to do. I want to be a baseball player. I want to be for Seattle Mariners. Baseball people again, raise your hands. Okay. Where do you put the people that don't play baseball really well when you have to put in the field? Right field, there we go. Where are my right fielders at? Like, you played right field, okay? Maybe you signed up for baseball because your dad wanted you to, your friend did, and you're sitting there and you're like picking daisies out in right field, and you're like, the center fielder's my friend. Why can't we hang out? He's all the way over there. I'm over here. I wasn't quite right field bad, but I was really short. I was pretty little, so they put me at second base. They're like, you're a good fielder. I was like, that's a nice way of saying I don't have the arm for shortstop. Like, that's just where I was. And so I remember one spring we had a game, and it was a typical, like, Northwest spring day where it's, like, 45 degrees. It feels like it's going to rain, and it never quite actually does. So we're still playing this game. And the game's actually pretty close as we go into the last inning. I remember I'm at second base, because that's where I am. And it gets closer, and we're up by 2. And the pitcher starts struggling. And the coach comes out to the mound, and he points to me. I kind of look behind me. I'm like, I don't think you meant me. He's like, yeah, John, you're going to come in. And so I go in and I pitch. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is going to be my big moment. Okay, so I warm up a little bit. Not all of them hit the backstop, which is a win. Some of them did. I go in, and I'm ready. I'm just ready. And I stand up, and I pitch, and I throw the first one, and it nails a kid in the hand. Just nails him. It's third grade, keep in mind. Dude starts crying. Like, he goes into the dugout, and the coach is having a pep talk, and he's like, it's okay, you can play. Like, he's not that scared. I'm like, I'm really short. I didn't mean to hurt you. So he goes on first base. The next dude, I think, was so scared of me that I just, like, threw 2 pitches in, and he was great with it. So he let those all go by, and he struck out, which was fun. The second guy, I throw, and somehow he pops it up to our shortstop. Our shortstop, he's a good fielder. He's got a good arm. He catches it. We have 2 outs. I'm sitting there. I'm like, this is awesome. I go to the last batter. I walk him. We've now walked in a run. The bases are loaded. There's 1 run between us and the other team. I'm sitting there going, am I going to pull this off? Batters aren't scared anymore. No one's crying anymore. They're like, okay, we can hit this little kid. So I go in there. I throw a strike. It's awesome. I throw a ball, another ball. Somehow he fouls one off. It was one of those that, like, it's going to go fair, but it just barely goes foul. We have that happen. And finally, I throw one last in, and he swings, and somehow he misses. He strikes out. We win the game. We do the, like, 2, 4, 6, 8 cheer, right? And I remember my coach came up to me, and he gave me the game ball. He's like, John, you did this. Like, you won the game. Thanks. I remember I was walking to the car. I see my dad, and I run to him, and I go, Dad, did you see what I did? And he looks at me, he goes, John, that was awesome. He puts his arm around me, he says, I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you. That was the first moment that I realized that, like, holding on to these rocks felt really, really good. You guys want to know a fun secret about me? Yeah. I was really, really cool in middle school. Like, really cool in middle school. Really cool. I was really good at something. It's what made me really, really cool. I was really good at the clarinet. Okay, you laughed. I don't know if that's the reaction we were going for. It's a little weird, but I was really, really good at music. I was good at the clarinet. It's not cool, I know that. But it's something. When we were in middle school, we had a contest called Solo and Ensemble Competition. We have that now too, right? Like some of my fellow music people are like, you just call this not cool, but we're still going to cheer for you. So we have this competition. And you're scored 1 through 4, and a 1 means you're really good, a 4 means you're not that good. And I remember I put in a ton of work. You go, you play a piece. I remember I got a 1, and it felt so cool. Like, and I had this piece of paper that said it had a 1 on it. It had my name. It had 1. And it was proof that I was good, that I was worth something, that I had actually achieved something. So I grabbed that, and I held on to it. So I already told you about Rose. We actually met at summer camp, which is super either weird or fun, depending on how you look at it. Oh, that's an awe moment. That's great. We met at summer camp. We did not date at summer camp, okay? So leaders, that's where we're at on that. We met at summer camp, but we did not date, so remember that. And so I loved Rose. She was amazing. Her parents were actually the high school directors at the summer camp we met, and they had a ministry where they were doing stuff where they were sending out students out on mission trips, and it was super fun. And I loved Rose, and I wanted her parents to like me. And so I started interning for them. I started working for them, and I started working more and more and more. And I was really good at it, right? Like I was working more and more and more, and I just kept loading in these things. The more I worked, the more that I thought that they're going to be proud of me. And they were, like they said, we're proud of you, John. Like, that's so awesome. Like, we're glad you're in a relationship with our daughter. Like, it was really, really cool. And I kept loading it in, and I kept working myself really, really hard. There's something else, though, that we throw into our backpacks. Sometimes I think we want to make ourselves or our lives look as appealing as possible, even if we don't feel it is. So you have this rock over here, right? It's gold, it's shiny, it's beautiful. Something I actually call this image. Call it image. I remember the first time that I had someone notice me, and it felt really, really cool. Felt really, really cool. Where we, I don't know, any of you guys ever gotten a letter from someone in like elementary school, like a note? Is someone in elementary school? Just me? Okay. Do elementary schoolers have phones now? Is that why? Like, I don't. Oh, that's weird. I got a note from a girl in 3rd grade, and it was really, really special. It was on, like, Mickey Mouse stationery. It was super fun. So that was great. I don't know. Sometimes these rocks that we pick up that we put into our bags, like, they take different shapes. They take different forms. I think one of the forms that they take when we look at images, they actually look rectangular. We put it in our pocket. Right? I think every time we open up our social media apps, we're asking, does my life look good enough? Am I posting pictures of me that look good enough? Are people looking at me and saying, your life looks good enough? Every single time you open up Instagram, you open up Snapchat, you get upset when someone loses their streak with you. You look and make sure that you have the perfect picture. You look and make sure, like, did enough people like this? If not, I'm going to take it down. Right? You have all these moments. I remember the first time where when I cared about image, it hurt someone else. It was 9th grade. How many of you guys are big birthday people? Like, you're big birthday people. Like, you love celebrating your birthday. My wife, Rose, was this way. In 7th grade, she wore a tiara to school on her birthday. That's not me. That's not me at all. But she wore it, and she loved it. I'm not a big birthday person, but I think all of us like attention. So freshman year, I'm at Paulswood Junior High. I walk into my first period class, and there's a little strip of paper on it. It's got a note on it. It's got a picture, and it says, more to come. I walk into my second period class, and there's another note, another strip of paper, another thing on it, and it says, some nice things about me, and it says, happy birthday. We're going to keep surprising you through the rest of the day. Walking into third period class, sure enough, there's another note. There's another strip of paper. At this point, my friends are starting to be curious. They're like, who's giving you all these? Like, who's leaving all of these here for you? 4th period class, we go, and there's another one. 5th period class, my friends are like, I don't know who it is. Like, they've talked to all the normal people that we talk with. They're like, I don't know who it is. And they're really, really curious. I walk into my 6th period class, and my friends aren't curious anymore, but they're laughing. You see, they figured out who it was, and it was a girl who wasn't what someone would call cool. She wasn't what someone would call the prettiest person. She just didn't fit in with our group. And she had poured her heart out to me on these notes every single day, like every single period on my desk. And she looked at me and she smiled and she said, "Surprise, happy birthday, don't you love it?" And I looked at her and I said, "That's weird." Because in that moment, I cared way more about what my friends thought than I did about these feelings and this heart from this girl who just poured it out to me for the entire day. I learned a lesson that day, and I don't think it was the right lesson, but I learned it, which was that the person that I dated, the person that I was with, mattered as far as my image. And if I was with the right person, then my friends and other people would think I was cool. And if it was the wrong person, then they wouldn't think I was cool, and I didn't have a good image, and I didn't want to feel that way anymore. So that actually, there's another rock that we're going to talk about. And I don't like talking about this one very much in my life. I kind of tucked it away back here. It's not pretty like the other ones. It's actually this kind of black one, and it's not good to look at. It's what we call shame or brokenness. Because sometimes we do things because we think we need to look a certain way or act a certain way, and the decisions might make sense in the moment, but then we start to feel shame. The first time that I really learned what one of these was, I'd actually picked up a real rock. I was 4 years old. My sister and I were playing outside in the yard, and I took a rock about probably twice the size, and I kind of put it at her head. Because I was 4. It's okay. And I did that, and it hit her in her head. And so I remember we came inside, and my mom asked us what happened, and I told my mom it was an accident, and she believed me. It was in that moment that I knew I could get away with things. And again, it felt good in the moment, but it didn't feel good later. I remember it was 6th grade, and I'd been getting teased and bullied for the last 4 years in elementary school, especially by a kid named Ian. And finally, Ian said the wrong thing at the wrong moment, and I snapped. I hit him. We got into a fight. We were just like fighting on the playground in 6th grade until teachers separated us. And it felt really, really good in that moment. And then I started to feel the weight of that. I remember when I was 14 and a friend of mine said, "Hey, you should look at this website on your computer, but do it when your parents can't see." And I did, and I went there, and I spent too much time there, and I knew that I shouldn't. And that shame kept following me too. I learned over here, right? I learned that like people cared about the type of person that I dated, and then I made that my whole life. I went way too far emotionally, way too far physically with girls, and I hurt them. I played with their hearts just because I didn't feel good about myself. And I kept that there. I have moments where I thought things about myself that I know aren't good things, where I wondered, is anyone going to even miss me if I'm here, if I leave? And I got to the point where I have put all these rocks into my backpack. And it's getting heavy and heavy and heavy. I start to wonder, like, can my backpack actually hold all these things? I think we all hit a point in our life where we ask that. We're like, can this actually hold everything we're trying to put in? Backpacks are actually really interesting. Can I nerd out on you guys for a little bit with backpacks? Is that fun? Can we do that? Okay. So backpacks are actually designed to carry a ton of stuff in them. We have a picture. The first backpack that ever was made was in like the 1930s, and it was called a satchel. Can you guys say satchel? It's a man purse. It's really what it is. It was like 2 belts that were tied around some books, and you had it around you, right? And so that was the satchel. The first modern-looking backpack was actually in the 1930s. It was designed for someone who was rock climbing. You can look and you see like it had a zipper, it had pockets, it had things for all of your cool rock climbing gear. And then in the 60s, we get our first like modern looking backpack. It's got the same fabric, it's got a lot of pockets, it looks a lot like what you guys take to school. It had that same format, but the history is so that it could always carry heavy things and be used on these long journeys or these long adventures. Because backpacks are meant to carry a lot. But I don't think that we are. Like backpacks can hold a lot of weight, but I actually don't think that we're supposed to carry as much weight as we can sometimes put into them. backpacks are designed to go on adventures, and adventures are fun, right? Like sometimes for you, like the bus ride here was an adventure, and you're just like, we got here. Maybe that's not a fun adventure, but like you have fun when we're with each other, right? I've been pretty lucky in my life. Like I've gone on some really, really cool adventures. I remember a group of friends and we hiked up to the top of a mountain outside Kiev in Ukraine. We looked down and we're like, this is really, really cool. I went to Brazil for a couple of months, and I remember I rode in a boat on the Amazon River, which feels like one of those like bucket list moments where you're like, oh, this is happening. This is real. That's really fun. I climbed up to the top of this waterfall in the Amazon River and looked down and jumped like 20 feet. Like, that's really fun. I got to skateboard all around the city of Osaka in Japan, like dodge bikes and dodge angry cars, and it was a ton of fun for like 3 days. It was so cool. I went to South Africa, and we actually played with lion cubs, which is super fun and also kind of dangerous because I wasn't the safest thing. But we got to do all those things. And guys, I've been on a lot of adventures in my life, but I actually believe this, that the greatest adventure I've ever been on is actually one that I'm still going on. See, I was invited on this adventure by a person named Jesus. Some of you guys have heard the name Jesus before. Some of you heard a lot about Jesus. Some of you haven't heard much about Jesus. We actually believe this, that he invited us to go on an adventure with him. It's what we call going on the mission with Jesus. I believe this, like he invited me to go on that with him. He's actually invited you to go on that mission with him as well. And the really interesting thing is he has some really key instructions that he tells people before they go on adventures. A lot of what we know about Jesus was written down by people who lived at the same time as him. There's a guy named Luke who was a doctor. And kind of like today, like doctors were really, really, really reliable people. Like you never hear like, you shouldn't listen to that person, they're crazy, about a doctor. Right? Like which doctor, yes, real doctor, no. Like that's kind of the line on that. And so like doctors were really, really reliable people. And so Luke followed Jesus around. He walked with him and wrote down what he did. And he's a reliable witness. All of you guys know, some of you guys don't. Like there's actually no debate about if Jesus was a real person. Like so many reliable witnesses, so many historians agree that Jesus was a real person. There's a little bit of debate about like, is he actually the Son of God? But there's no debate about the fact of whether or not he was a real person. Every single person, whether they said yes to Jesus or not, can agree to that. So I was looking at Luke. I was looking at what he wrote down and what he said when Jesus sent his disciples out on adventures. So we're going to put it up on the screen, but in Luke chapter 9, we see what Jesus does. It says this, one day Jesus called together his 12 disciples and gave them power and authority to cast out all demons and to heal all diseases. Then he sent them out to tell everyone about the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. He's sending them out to do Jesus adventure stuff, right? Like if you ask someone who lived at the time, if you ask someone who knows Jesus, they're like, what did that Jesus guy do? They're like, he healed people, he cast out demons, he did cool stuff, and he talked a lot about the kingdom of God. Like that's what he did. And so you see here, like he is sending out his disciples to go and do these like Jesus adventure things. He keeps going, take nothing for your journey, he instructed them. Don't take a walking stick, a traveler's bag, food, money, or even a change of clothes. Wherever you go, stay in the same house until you leave town. I want to go back to where it says verse 3, take nothing for your journey. How crazy is that? He's like, take nothing. Have any of you guys ever forgotten something at home when you went on a trip? Keep your hand up if you forgot something at home on your way to camp. Right? If you're towelless, I'm sorry. Please still find a way to shower. Any of you guys forget your cell phone before when you go on a trip? Like, it just feels weird. And you're like, I don't know how to check the time. Some of you are like, my parents didn't let me take my cell phone here. And I just kind of feel naked. Like, I can't check the time. I can't check directions. I don't know which way is up or down. Right? Like, take nothing for your journey seems insane. Right? Like, that's crazy that Jesus would say that, but he does. He says that. He says, take nothing for your journey. I think the reason why he says this is, one, he does understand that the lighter we pack, the further we'll go. But I also think this, that Jesus says you actually can't pack enough to prepare fully to be okay on your own. But you need to get to a spot where you take nothing, because that's the only way that you're actually going to depend fully on God to show up. I don't know about you, but sometimes I read things in the Bible and I'm like, did that happen? Like, is that legit? Like, was Jesus right here? Like, it's okay to have those thoughts. And I looked at this and I was like, oh, this is true. And I know that it's true for two reasons. One, you look at the rest of the Bible, you look at what Luke says a few chapters later, and like the disciples said it was. So if you look at Luke 23, it says this, then Jesus asked them, when I sent you out to preach the good news and you did not have money, a traveler's bag, or an extra pair of sandals, did you need anything? I love the question that Jesus is asking them right now. I think he's asking them the question, how'd it go? If someone had asked me after I went on that backpacking trip with my dad, they'd say, how'd it go? Not great. It's a question I think we need to ask ourselves a lot in our life. A lot of you guys have been here before. A lot of you guys have been at a camp before. You've been in a field, maybe this field before. A lot of you guys that have been to camps or been in fields like this, you've had moments with God at camp that were really, really cool. And you said, I'm going to go home and my life's going to be completely different. I want to ask you a question. How'd it go? Maybe there are some of you that you're like, it worked out exactly the way I thought. But I'd be willing to bet that there's a lot of you that are like me. I grew up going to summer camps. I grew up in fields like this. I grew up saying, God, I'm going to be completely different. You have changed my life. And I get home and a week later, I'm the exact same. I don't know if that's your story. I don't know where you're at, but I actually believe this, like maybe that happened if that is your story because you're still carrying stuff that you weren't meant to carry. That you're carrying stuff that God's like, you're actually not supposed to carry that. You look at the disciples, the answer is, Jesus asked them the question, did you need anything? How'd it go? They said, we didn't need anything, Jesus. You provided everything we needed. You took care of us. You provided everything we needed. Second thing is this, is I know that it's true what Jesus told the disciples because I've actually seen it happen in my own life. I remember carrying my backpack around, picking it up, feeling the weight of it, and asking the question, is life supposed to feel this heavy? The answer is no, it's not. And so I started looking at my life. I started unpacking my backpack and saying, God, what do you have for me? God, what does it actually look like to really let go of things? Achievements are great. Like, there's nothing wrong with achievements in and of themselves. Like, there's nothing wrong with working hard. There's nothing wrong with trying your best. Those are awesome things. But when it becomes something that consumes you, and when you look to achievements to answer the question of where do I get my value, that's when it starts to be a problem. See, I realized eventually I can never play baseball well enough for my dad to be as proud of me as I needed him to be. I just couldn't. I tried and I tried and I tried, but I couldn't do it well enough. I remember I had that certificate from Solon Ensemble, and it felt great for a while, but then after a couple months, like, it just felt weird talking about it. Like, it feels weird talking about, like, oh, that thing that I did months ago, like, you remember that? That's why I'm worth something. That's why I'm cool. It didn't work anymore. It was a hard lesson to learn when I realized that I could work 80 hours a week for my wife's parents and they still didn't like me. That was really, really hard. I was like, I did all this for you. I did all this so you could like me. I did all these things so that you could say that I was worth something, that you liked me. And I realized eventually that it just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to come. Guys, there's nothing wrong with working hard. I want you to work hard. I want you to try your best. But here's what I know from my experience is you cannot find your value there. Like, you cannot define yourself there. You cannot find your value there. I think a lot of times we look at our image and we look at who we are and we say, man, like, we pick up these rocks because we just want someone to notice us. We just want someone to notice us. But something happens. You're trying so hard. You're posting the right picture of yourself on your Instagram. You know it's the right picture because it's not the 24th selfie you took or the 25th, but it's actually the 26th one that you took. And you know it's the right one because you spent 30 minutes coming up with the right caption for it. And the right caption is one where it's funny, but it doesn't look like you're trying too hard because that's not cool. You know that this has gone too far. This has consumed your life where you're saying, I don't care about hurting someone else's feelings because I need my friends to think that I'm cool still. And I hit a point where I just started having to unload all of these rocks into this bucket again and getting rid of them because I realized that I was a different person with every single person I interacted with. I was different with my parents. I was different with my sister. I was different with one group of friends at school, with another group of friends. I was someone completely different at church because I pretended like I knew all the right things and did all the right things. Because I thought that's what would make me noticed. And I realized that I actually didn't know who I was. I spent way too much time trying to show other people to be who they needed me to be that I didn't know who I was anymore. And I was a kid who had a ton of different friends in high school, but no one that was actually close to him. Because I spent too much time trying to get them to notice me. And then there's this bucket. This bucket's hard. I don't like talking about it. It's awkward talking about some of the stuff that we do. We talked about this, like shame is really, really powerful. Here's what I know, is that all of us have these black rocks in our lives. I already told you about what some of mine were. I lied. I looked at stuff I wasn't supposed to. I remember the first time that I put someone else down because I needed to feel better. I remember just carrying that with me. I think something happens is that we do something, we know it's not good for us, but we get used to it. And it becomes this weird kind of defense for us. We're like, I know this actually isn't good for me, but I'm going to hold it in my hand because it actually feels safer this way. And we get so used to doing something, we get so used to doing it, we're like, I don't actually care that's not good for me because I can't imagine life without it anymore. And here's what you need to know is that there is a God who says that there is freedom on the other side of that once you let it go. I think some of you might be there, though, and you're like, John, I've tried putting this rock down. I've tried. I messed up once, and it was one mistake. And I tried putting it down, but every time I do, someone else keeps putting it in my backpack for me. They keep throwing it in there because they said, no, you're known by this now. If that's you, I'm really, really sorry. I think a lot of times people can make us feel like we have no control. They can make us feel so helpless. I think there's probably some of you that are like, it doesn't feel like I have my own identity anymore, but it's me and this rock, and we're just hanging out together, and everyone says that we're together because of one mistake that I made. And you need to know that there is a God who loves you. There's a God who says that you are an amazing and wonderful child of God, and that thing doesn't define you anymore no matter what anyone else says. He says that you can be free of that. You just have to trust him. One of the things that we also see in this bucket is brokenness. And here's the hard thing about brokenness. It can come from either sin or situation. I think there's some of you that are here, and your backpack's really, really full. And you're like, John, I didn't even pack this myself. You're 5 years old. Your dad threw a backpack that was way too heavy for you to carry, and he walked out of the door, and you haven't seen him since. You're 10 and your parents split up and you got backpacks from both of them and they just keep stuffing it in there and stuffing it in there and stuffing it in there. And you're saying, I can't even carry one of these, let alone two. Someone that you trusted and they broke that trust. They threw this backpack at you and they walked away. You're like, I didn't do anything. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here and I have a weight that is far too heavy for me to carry. Here's what I want you to know. Like, if you're here tonight and that's your story, I'm really, really sorry. I'm really sorry. That shouldn't have happened to you. We live in a world that's broken, and broken things happen to us sometimes. We had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry that that's happened to you. It's happened to me too, and it's the worst. Like, it is awful. You need to know that there is hope on the other side of that. One of the things that I think is easy to say is it's easy to sit here and think and say, my backpack is too heavy. I don't have any more room. I can't carry it. How can you say that it's just as easy as laying it down? Because I have really, really, really good news for you. That Jesus person who wants you to go on an adventure, who says that you need to pack light to go on that adventure with him, he actually talks exactly about this, where he talks about the weights that we are carrying that are way too heavy for us. Another friend of Jesus named Matthew wrote down something that Jesus said. Jesus said this, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." I think we can all use a little rest, right? Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden that I give you is light. The band's going to come up now, and as we close, I want to talk about that passage where Jesus says, he says, I will take that weight. I will take that weight. We actually call it this. We call it a great exchange. Where Jesus says that he will take the heaviest thing that you've ever given him. He will take that heavy weight. He will take that backpack, and he will give you something that's lighter than you've ever imagined so that you can go further than you've ever thought possible with him. He wants to take that weight for you. He wants to take that backpack for you. But guys, like, we have to say yes to him for that to happen. So I think that there are some of you tonight where you've I've actually never heard that life didn't have to be this heavy. If that's you, tonight's probably your night. Where you say yes to Jesus, that weight goes off your shoulders. You've been carrying stuff that you weren't meant to carry, and Jesus says, let me take that for you. And I promise you, life's going to feel a lot lighter moving forward. I think there's some of you, though, and you've been here, and you're like, John, I said yes to Jesus, but my backpack still feels kind of heavy. Still feels kind of heavy, and I don't know why. I know for me as a student, I had a moment where I'd said yes to Jesus, but I didn't actually fully say yes to Jesus. Where I said, God, I believe in you. I believe that you have this awesome, amazing promise for me, but I kind of want to keep a little bit here for myself. A lot of times I had that because I started asking these what-if questions where I'm like, what if I don't like what Jesus has for me? What if I'm not blank enough? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not smart enough? What if I'm not cool enough? What if Jesus only wants those people to say yes to him? And so I held on to these things. I held on to my anxieties. I held on to my worries that come because we live in a broken world, and I hadn't fully said yes to Jesus. I think there's probably some of you here tonight that you're in that same boat too. Like you're in a moment where you actually need to, for the first time ever, say fully yes to Jesus. We're going to say, God, I actually choose to give you everything that I have. I'm going to give you everything that I own. I'm going to give you everything that I have. And I'm going to trust that your way is better than my way, even when I can't see it. Because I'm tired of trying this on my own. I'm tired of trying this my way. I'm tired of life feeling this heavy. And at this point, God, I will trust you because anything sounds better than this. And maybe you're here and you're like, maybe this is true. Maybe life can feel lighter than it has. Maybe life doesn't feel this heavy. It doesn't need to. Here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to take a minute. We're going to slow down. You guys have had a long trip here. I don't know what your summer looked like. Maybe you've had a lot of downtime. Maybe you've been going from camp to camp, from thing to thing. Tonight, though, we're going to slow down. The band's going to sing a song, and as they sing a song, I don't want you guys to stand up. You can sing along if you want, but I don't necessarily know if that's even the right thing for you to do. Here's what I want. I want you to sit and ask yourself this question. What have I been carrying that I'm not supposed to? I believe this, that every single one of us in this field is probably carrying something that we're not supposed to. That we're carrying something that we weren't meant to. So tonight, there's going to be a moment. We pour a bunch of rocks on the stage. You're going to grab a rock and you're going to take it back to your small group. You're going to write down on that something that you're leaving here at camp. Here's my hope. Here's my heart. I want you guys to leave camp lighter than you came. I look at this and I see so much potential in this field. I see so many people that are going to go out and change the world, but you can do it only if you stop carrying things that you weren't meant to. I don't know what that is for you. Maybe for you it's one of these rocks. It's grades. It's sports. It's your parents and how they think of you. It's how your friends think of you, how your teachers think of you, where you think you have to keep earning that. Maybe for you it's just achievements as a whole. I don't know. I think for some of you guys, it's over here and it's image. Is that you're going to be at a spot like me where you're saying, I'm done trying to make everyone think I'm someone for them. I'm actually going to finally be who God made me to be. I think there's some of you guys, though, that I had this moment at camp too, or this bucket that I kind of hid in the back because I don't like talking about it. Tonight's the night that we bring it forward and we deal with it. Whether it's shame from something you've done, whether it's brokenness from something that was done to you, you're saying, God, I'm done holding on to that because I'm tired of letting stupid things have power over me. I'm tired of letting mistakes and brokenness have power over me. So as the band sings this song, I want you to sit and think and have a moment with God where you ask and say, what have I been carrying that I'm not supposed to leave here with? Band's going to sing this song. We're going to pour these rocks out. I'll tell you what to do in a second. Your group leaders right now, they're going to get to do something cool. Group leaders, can you guys do me a favor? You guys quietly, without disturbing people, stand up. And if you haven't gotten your Sharpie, it's going to be in a box by the tent. And then your group leaders are going to do this. They're going to grab their Sharpie, and they're going to stand around the torches. So group leaders, you can go ahead and do that now. Because your group leaders are some of my favorite people. If you're wondering, who's my group leader? It's your cabin leader. If you don't know who your cabin leader is, it's who your friend says is your cabin leader. These group leaders have sacrificed a ton to get here because they believe in you. They've taken time off of work. They've been on buses with you. They've worked hard to get here. And we're going to have a moment now where they have a Sharpie because you're going to write a word on your rock. And as you guys sit and have this moment with God, they're going to be around the edges of the circle and they're going to be praying for you. Even if you don't believe in God, I think it's pretty cool that someone's praying for you because they love you. So as we have this moment, your leaders are going to grab their Sharpie, they're going to be on the outside of the circle, and they're going to be praying for you. Because they want what's best for you. I want what's best for you. They want you to live to your fullest potential. And they know the only way that you're going to do that is if you let go of these things that you were not supposed to carry. Would you guys pray with me? Thank you for what you've done. We thank you for your word that you've given us. God, we thank you that you say no matter what we are carrying, it's not too heavy for you. God, we thank you for that promise that you have, which you say, take every heavy thing we have and give it to you, and you will give us something that's lighter than we ever thought possible. God, I thank you for the potential in this field. God, I pray this, that students tonight would let go of what they've been holding on to. That they would realize that they don't need it anymore, that all they need is you. And you say that we cannot prepare enough to be okay on our own, and we need to fully depend on you showing up. So God, we thank you for that. We thank you that you are dependable, that you are faithful, and that you always show up. So guys, we go into this time as this band sings this song. I just pray that these students would have a moment with you, and you would lay on their hearts what it is that they're supposed to leave here at camp. So God, we thank you for who you are, what you've done, and what you will continue to do. In Jesus' name, amen.